All right, welcome into the Aggie Up podcast. This is Isaac Draxler, and we're excited to preview the Fresno State matchup this Saturday night. Um, so we've got a special visitor or guest, I guess, Jackson Moore. But first, I need to get a couple things out of the way. One, we've got a special announcement, a promotion that were brought to you by ustateaggies.com and scout.com. So right now we've got a special. We just set up a promo code for 3 months free. You use the promo code AggieUp. You just put in Aggie Up. You get 3 months free, and you pay for the first month. You get 3 months free at at a great discounted price. You get all the premium features with Scout and all the premium content, all the premium stories, message boards, all that kind of stuff for 3 months free. Give it a try, and then from there you can always change to an annual subscription where you'd get even more of a discount and different things like that. So definitely a great opportunity, a good deal for our Aggie Up podcast listeners. So we appreciate you listening. We're going to keep bringing those discounts and promotions and different things. So keep listening. We appreciate it. So Jackson Moore, he joins me now. He covers Fresno State. He's actually had a little bit of experience, from what I understand, covering a couple different teams in the Mountain West. But obviously, we're going to be talking about Fresno State. So Jackson, how's it going tonight?
It's going good. Thanks for having me on.
Good. So tell us a little bit about Fresno State. In my opinion, I turned on the game on Saturday against San Diego State, and I was expecting to see a really bad last place Fresno team, and it seemed like Fresno State really held their own for most of that game. And I don't know whether to compare it to Utah State in that you there's talent on the team and there's potential, but they just didn't really get it done. So what's the state of Fresno State? Do you think there's just holes, a lack of talent, or where are they kind of at? Why are they in last place right now?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. They have had some games like San Diego State. They only lost by 14 points, but statistically, the offense really didn't get anything going, and the defense did a pretty solid job to hold the Aztecs to 17 relative to what San Diego State's been doing. But I just kind of felt like even though it was on the scoreboard pretty close, it kind of felt like the Bulldogs were getting blown out in some sense. And there's been games where the Bulldogs have come out and like they went to Toledo. Toledo's not a bad team at all by any sense. They're very good, but for what Fresno State's used to go to Toledo and get just blown out was very demoralizing. To play UNLV on the road with the first game starting quarterback and really get taken out by the UNLV Rebels on the road, that was a tough one to watch. But they've also had games like San Diego State. They've gone to Nevada and were a couple plays away from taking that one, and hosted Tulsa and had a 31-point lead that slowly went away over the last 40 minutes into overtime and lost. So it has been tough. The Bulldogs have had some openings to not be in such a dismal state right now, but they haven't been able to take advantage when they have played up to par. And so it really is probably a lack of talent. There has been some words from NFL scouts that Fresno State's the worst they've seen in the conference, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was accurate. I haven't seen every Mountain West team in person, but Fresno State is it's disappointing. I'm looking at my lanyard right here on my bed. It's got the Mountain West logo from when I covered the Fresno State game, the conference championship game, and it's just about faded. And it kind of feels like that's where those two teams are right now.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know if the expectations were too high, but because obviously they had really some great talent, a great quarterback in Carr. At that point, and they ran up against a good Utah State team as well, that just didn't quite get it done against Fresno State. So that's, looking back, I agree. Those were kind of the, some of the heights of the two teams, and a lot to expect for a Utah State or Fresno State to do every year, I guess. But but yeah, that when you explain that, it's a little bit. I mean, to a certain extent, it's a little bit like Utah State as far as not taking advantage of opportunities, getting leads, giving up leads, different things like that. And I don't know if you or if any, obviously, if any Fresno State fans or even Utah State fans are expecting us to praise the Bulldogs when they're basically winless in FBS. But I did see some talent and some potential with that team. Is the talent kind of in the maybe the wide receivers or have quite a bit of talent, but maybe Virgil can't get them the ball? Is that kind of the problem? The talent is just not really matching up and working together, maybe?
Yeah, it's been an ongoing problem now for 2 seasons, which I think is why Fresno State fans are kind of really turned off right now, whereas some other people might watch this team and not see too many problems. But it's been going on for 2 seasons now where Fresno State has had a lot of young quarterbacks. At least now this year they're down to one with Chase and Virgil. They've had a lot of young receivers. This year there's almost an all-new offensive line, or only one player had started a full season, all new running backs on the roster. And when you're trying to run a spread offense like that, especially up tempo, it's kind of tough to get everyone on the same page and run it to its true effect. This year specifically, the receivers are probably the strength. Aaron Peck was a senior who was injured in redshirt last year, and he's a 6'3" guy that was doing pretty well for the Dogs, but he did go down with an injury against San Diego State. I don't think they're expecting to have him this weekend. Then you go down, and there's two redshirt sophomores. Keyshawn Johnson's an outside receiver, and Jameer Jordan's kind of your playmaking slot receiver. And they have their chances to make plays, especially Jameer. It doesn't really take much for him to get an opportunity to break one. But, again, the offensive line has been struggling as a group. It's a group that hasn't been recruited very well and has diminished in numbers. And even against San Diego State, they ran a 6 offensive lineman set up for most of that second half just to get Chase enough time to throw the ball. That's been a problem with Chase trying to escape the pocket because he's been a little damaged by the kind of pressure he's been getting as a young receiver. And he actually played. He's listed as a redshirt freshman, but he did play a few games last year, and he got a broken collarbone early on and got to redshirt. So some of those effects may be carrying over to that too.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned a couple of those things. It seems impossible that a team like Fresno State in the state of California could be so thin at offensive line and that could have such lack of talent in the cupboards as far as the quarterback position and a couple of I mean, you would think a couple of the guys on the Utah State roster, in particular Jordan Love, who is in the backyard of Fresno State. It seems like they've let a lot of guys, out from right under in their backyard, right out from under their nose, get away and play for other teams. When in the past, Fresno State was really taking advantage of that core area and the recruiting areas and different things. So how I guess is that just go back to the coaching staff and kind of a lack of recruiting and focus, or
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of weeks ago over at UNLV, they had a running back, Charles Williams, who's actually from Fresno Bullard High School, who went for, as a true freshman, and it was like something like 100 yards and a touchdown. And it seems like it's been a real frustration for Fresno State fans because when Pat Hill was here, he made it such about the pride of the Central Valley, which takes up a large part of California. And it seems like this coaching staff currently has gone away from that. They have recruited Texas to an extent. I mean, they're still about 3/4 of the team is from California, but they have spent a lot of their scholarships going to Texas. They brought in kids from Hawaii, more recently Georgia and Florida. There's a few Florida commits in this class. And it may not seem like much, but I think that has opened the door for other teams to come into California and recruit. San Jose State and San Diego State have had a lot more success in recent years recruiting, and I think a good part of that has to do with Fresno State not having the same kind of presence in California. And, of course, many of the other schools in the Mountain West are able to come in and take advantage too.
Yeah, I mean, on the roster of Utah State, there's Fresno guys. On UNLV, like you said, they've actually had some success in Fresno, which is interesting. Yeah, San Diego State, it's pretty crazy to think how many players came out of that area and everything. So tell us one of our favorite topics, or you know, I guess it's been an ongoing thing over the last almost 5 years, 4 years, I guess, of Matt Wells. He brought in Coach Weber when he got hired as a head coach, and now Coach Weber is in Fresno. So do you think he is going to kind of turn it around there, the offensive line, or what's your opinion or the fans' opinion on kind of the future of that offensive line?
Yeah, I think Fresno State's in good hands. I'm not sure how the fans of Utah State think about him, but Coach Weber was here with Pat Hill during some of the very good years around '04, '05, when that was the kind of the stretch where the Bulldogs were at one point ranked and went to USC and played against Reggie Bush. So that's one game that seems to stand out for people about Fresno State still. It's just been he got such a bare cupboard, really, and Coach Norcross is another guy Mountain West fans might be familiar with. He coached at Nevada for quite some time, and while he was at Fresno State all this time with Coach DeRuiter, he would take about 5 offensive linemen in every class, and it's just mind-boggling. The Bulldogs have a walk-on in the starting lineup and a late junior college ad they pulled out of last summer, and it's really pieced together. There's not much depth, and Coach Weber doesn't really have much of a chance this year with what he's got. But he has a good friend with Coach Hill, and I think between the two of them, Coach Hill seems to be a little more active than people might think. I think the Bulldogs will be able to find some linemen and develop them in the next few years. It's just kind of a question right now. If almost all the assistants are first-year guys like Coach Weber, but a lot of people want to see Coach DeRuiter gone, and I don't know what happens to those assistants after that.
Right. Yeah, and I have to remind people, from our website and Scout and everything, we've been covering Christian Kronk for a long time. He's starting at left tackle, and he's a guy from Oceanside, California, went to Riverside Community College, was committed to Utah State, and then I don't know if it had anything to do with Weber necessarily leaving, but ended up signing with Fresno State, and now he's starting a left tackle. So that's been kind of a crazy story to watch, and I think a lot of Aggie fans wish Utah State had Christian Kronk on this team, because that's been a little bit of a problem as well with Utah State giving up some sacks, not having time to throw the deep ball and run as effectively, especially after Devontae Mays went out. So, what are you expecting on Saturday? What are you expecting to see? Are you expecting Fresno State to come out and play really well, or was that kind of a temporary thing against San Diego State to kind of get up for that game and play well?
Yeah, it's tough for me to tell. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, this Fresno State team has had some games where they were right there in it, and other games where they just really put on a poor performance. And I kind of feel similar to how I did with this team going into Nevada a couple of weeks ago. The feeling I had, and I kind of feel the same way about this game, is it's all on Utah State. If they come out motivated and play their A game, they're going to come away with an easy win. But if they don't play all that well, as the Nevada did a few weeks ago, then Fresno State could be in it till the end. But this team, it's got a lot of deficiencies, and it just seems like for them to even pull off a win at this point, it's going to take a lot of things to line up, a lot of swing plays to go right, and the problems they've been having not to happen on the given week. Ultimately, I think most people here would be surprised if the Bulldogs came away with a win, especially on the road. But it could be a little competitive